Welcome to the XFL Show on the Grizzly Truth Sports Network. I am your host for the XFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Schmitty?
Doing good. I was expecting a little bit more of an introduction, though, but
well, that's all you get tonight, all right? I got to do a boxing show after this, so I don't have all time to chit-chat and fluff your ego.
Damn, all right, move on.
All right, the legendary Brian Schmidt.
Well, that's getting a little better.
Yeah, you could tell I didn't mean it, though. All right, so all right, TV ratings are plummeting, but it's still better than English Premiership soccer. I really don't think I don't think anybody thought the ratings would be what they are right now in week 3. Hopefully it plateaus. I think it was like 1.2 million viewers for the game that I saw, which at the same time English Premier League soccer got 800,000. But I think people are reading too much into this. Outside of LA, it seems to be success in all the home cities.
Yeah, I don't know that you can put a lot into the TV ratings. Maybe we look 2-3 weeks from now, because you knew they were going to be high week 1. Early on, especially because there was that buzz from week 1, and then you got more people. Hey, what's the buzz all about? They're going to watch week 2. Then you're going to start getting that drop to where things plateau. Now, I think by the time we get week 5, week 6. Now we're going to be able to see, okay, is it plateauing? Is it continuing to drop? And also the attendance. I mean, the attendance has steadily risen each week. But eventually, is it going to plateau? What's going to happen? So,
well, I think the main concern is with the spring league is Major League Baseball is going to start up less than a month before their season's over. March Madness conference tournaments start in 2 weeks. So the ratings are going to drop. I mean, that's just too much competition from places that have built-in long-term existing fan bases.
And I saw an article, I think it was yesterday, that brought up a great point about these ratings don't include people that are watching the NCAA basketball. They're watching baseball. You got all these things starting out, and they're DVRing the games and watching them later. So I don't know that the ratings are necessarily going to be. I think they'll plateau. They're going to drop with some of these things, but I think we'll see 3-4 weeks from now. If it's dropping continually like a stone week after week after week, then maybe there's going to be a problem. But it seems like the buzz is still just as good as it was week 1 and week 2. So we'll see what happens.
All right, and I think the other thing that happened this week is instead of looking like a league that may be dominated by 2 or 3 teams, that maybe now 5 teams are going to be competitive, which will make this much more interesting. And let's start off with D.C., who was undefeated going to L.A. L.A. was an 8.5-point dog at home. Cardell Jones came crashing back to earth hard. 13 of 26, 4 interceptions, and just generally the defenders had an overall bad day. And I think, number one, I think that's going to be something that happens this year when you see a team go from the East Coast to the West or the West to the East. And my overall thing with Cardell Jones is this is what I expected from him, but the first 2 weeks weren't, and I'm not going to throw him out with the old dish soap or dishwater, whatever the old saying is, because of one bad game. I'm going to wait and see, but it is concerning.
Yeah, we made a comment last week about the East Coast, the West Coast, and that we thought this game would be closer than maybe what people expected, but this certainly was not close, and LA dominated it really from the beginning. Cardell Jones, we'll see. Again, sometimes, we've talked about this before over the years. Sometimes you get guys that will have that stretch where they play out of their minds, and then all of a sudden they drop off a cliff, and then they plateau, and they kind of get to what they're going to be. So, we'll see where he goes from here. But I mean, boy, you talk about bad. I mean, he played bad. Nothing went right for DC in this game at all. And give LA credit. I mean, they played really well, and now maybe this is a team that I know this week they've got New York, so now maybe this is a team that now can start getting onto a bit of a roll.
Yeah, most definitely, and they've got the talent there. Josh Johnson looked good.
Yeah, he looked real good, and we kind of thought that he would. I mean, even the first week he played, which is week 2. I mean, he didn't play badly, but you can definitely see that there's some talent there. And so, if he can continue on with that, they can continue starting to build. Again, this may not be a bad team come week 5, week 6.
All right, next up, the Tampa Bay Vipers dropped to 0-3, but I think they took a massive step forward because they didn't just score one touchdown. They scored more than one. And the Vipers are 0-3, but this is a team that I think has gotten significantly better since week 1. I think they've gotten better each week, which is a testament to Mark Trestman. But the thing that's not a testament is I still don't know why he's playing more than one quarterback. He may not have that issue anymore, since I think I saw before we came on air that Quentin Flowers was taking a leave from the team.
Yes.
But the big thing here is P.J. Walker. I mean, P.J. Walker is an absolute stud.
P.J. Walker is definitely a stud. He has taken to this offense. A lot of quarterbacks that have never played in Jimmy Jones' offense, they have that incubation period where it takes them a little bit to get used to. Here's a guy with limited practice time. When you look at compared to NFL or college, XFL didn't have a whole lot of practice time. They didn't really have any preseason games, but I think they had one, where they one game they did. And this guy's going out and just mastering this offense every single game and putting up huge numbers. And then, he's got that receiver, Cam Phillips.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be in an NFL camp somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he has just been outstanding. So, yeah, this Houston team is pretty good. And they're good offensively. They're not a great team defensively, but they're not a horrible team defensively.
Well, June Jones also has zero regard for where he's leaving his defense on the field, too.
No, and that's kind of the testament to the fact that, I mean, he believes that they're going to put up points to win it. And he's okay winning a game 34-27. He's okay winning a game 44-41 as long as he's winning the game. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you win, just as long as you get the dub. So they're pretty. They are definitely, in my opinion, right now. I feel like they're the best team in the league. And it shows, especially with DC losing. It shows. I think right now they're the best team in the league. I think. I still have, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I still have high regard for St. Louis as well. I think St. Louis is right there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, another team that's right there, especially if you could get Hal Mummy to run the freaking ball in the first half, would be the Dallas Renegades, whose defense has been good, but for some reason they don't run the ball to the fourth quarter, but they do put the game away when they do that. Landry Jones threw the ball 41 times in Saturday's 24-12 win at Seattle. And once again, his stat line was good, 73% completion, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns. But as always, Landry threw 2 picks. And you can really see a rapport forming with him, with Landry Jones and his tight end, Donald Parham.
Yeah, they've been an interesting team, and they've done some real interesting things in the fact that they come out throwing. And it seems like, boy, they're never going to run the football. Then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, yeah, we can't actually run the football. And then they just, yeah, it looks like a completely different team. You almost think, man, it'd be great if you just, maybe start the game with this a little bit. And, it might be interesting. But I think Dallas is a good team. I still don't feel like they're ahead of Houston or St. Louis yet. I think they've got some work to do, but I think they're definitely, maybe the third best team in the league right now.
All right. Yeah, I think they're up there. Also, you got Bob Stoops and Hal Mummy, so you know they're going to continue to get better. The Seattle Dragons, Brandon Silvers, I think played a little bit better, but this is a team that I think wants to be based on a running game, and the running game's just not there.
Yeah, Silvers really didn't play that bad at all. Watching the game, I mean, he actually played pretty well. It just seems like they don't really get much of a running game going. They have to put more of the game on Silvers than I think they want to. The first drive coming out in this game was outstanding. It was a great drive, but they don't seem to be able to have that consistency. They look great one drive, and then they'll go 5, 6, 7 drives and not look good at all, and then all of a sudden they'll look good again. Prohl, I think, is a great possession slot receiver for them. He does a great job. There's definitely some things to work with. It's just a matter of fact that they've got to be able to click more consistently offensively. Like I said, they came out the first drive. I think it was a 10-play drive, looked great. Then all of a sudden they go away for a while. Then they'll have a good drive, and then they go away again. They just don't have that consistency offensively.
All right, now we're going to talk about a team that has no consistency anywhere, and here's the problem with the New York Guardians that I see. Every XFL team I see is already at least a pretty good team or getting better. And the main thing is, I think every other team here except for the Guardians have shown improvement. Matt McGloin is absolutely terrible. Ian Silberman, their Cyberman, whatever he's notably lost his cool again. This is a team I think that's come completely off the rails after just 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I agree totally. Almost one of those situations where you have to wonder if maybe there needs to be a firing. There needs to be a firing, maybe quicker or maybe sooner than later, kind of thing. It's just nothing they do looks good. Nothing at all. So yeah, I agree. They are definitely kind of a joke of the league right now.
Yeah, what is not a joker, the St. Louis Battlehawks. And I'll tell you, I've been impressed by Jay Hayes because the thing I see with this team, above and beyond other teams, is the way this team looks like they've really come together as a team, and it looks like they really enjoy playing for Coach Hayes, and it looks like they really enjoy playing with each other. That didn't sound right, did it? But you know what I mean.
Yeah, they fly around defensively. Offensively, they really want to establish that run game, that RPO game. They get going downhill offensively at times, which is really kind of fun to watch sometimes. Just watching them go downhill in the run game, RPO, run game, play action, go over top. They really do some good things with that. So I really feel like, me personally, I think St. Louis is the second best team in this league right now, and they show it. And I don't think they're that far away from being the best team. Yes, they lost to Houston, but
they outplayed them when they lost to them.
They outplayed them, and I think they're very complete offensively and defensively. And hey, you know, special teams. You know, first kickoff return for a touchdown on that reverse. I mean, that, you know, they seem to be doing the right things. And we talked about on the first week we did this show, St. Louis may be that team that be week 7, week 8 may be the best team in this league. They certainly seem like they're a team that's getting better each week. They're not plateauing. They're not regressing. They seem to be getting better right now each week, which is what you want. So, yeah, I like St. Louis as the second best team in this league right now, with the potential to be the first best.
Yeah, I think Dallas is another team with that potential.
Yeah, I do too.
I still think they're third, and I think they're probably going to stay third. But it wouldn't surprise me. They got some experience. They start running the ball a little bit more. Let's go ahead and let's look. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you look at, you've got Houston, St. Louis, Dallas, DC. I think right there, your top 4 teams. And now it really comes down to, does Seattle get it going? Does LA get it going? I think LA has potential to maybe start getting into that conversation. New York, I don't see them doing anything. Tampa Bay, I think could, but I just think there's too much. I just don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to overcome the starts they've had. So I definitely think the four best teams are who we talked about.
All right, Brian. Let's go to Week 4, which will start off with the Los Angeles Wildcats at the New York Guardians. That's going West Coast to East Coast. The Wildcats are favored by 7. This is a matchup between 1 and 2 teams who are going in wildly opposite directions. The Wildcats, as we talked about, are coming off an impressive win over the Defenders after a pair of ugly losses to start the year. Meanwhile, the Guardians were kind of the opposite. They looked great in Week 1, holding Tampa Bay to just 3 points before being shut out in Week 2, held to just 9 points in Week 3. And I think that even though we talked about the East Coast-West thing being a big deal, right now I don't see the Guardians be able to score enough points to be able to win this game or even cover the spread here. I think the Wildcats win this game.
Yeah, I think the Wildcats win this. I think right now the Guardians are so bad that even with the coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, I just don't think it's going to matter.
All right, next up, we get the 2 teams with the best fan bases so far. The Seattle Dragons will travel to St. Louis to play the Battlehawks. And, this is a game, when we look at it, Brian, I mean, it should be a St. Louis win. I think the point spread is really maybe a little too big here. The Dragons are 12-point underdogs. Who do you think takes this one?
I think St. Louis will win this. I think Seattle will keep it close under the point spread, but Seattle plays good football. They play hard. They play tough. They just don't have the talent to overcome St. Louis, but they'll definitely, I think, keep it under 12.
Yeah, I think St. Louis's rushing attack with Matt Jones, Christian Michael, quarterback Jordan Tamu, and, I mean, they're really good running the ball. And Seattle has kind of struggled in every game this season offensively, even though they've looked strong at points in every game, but they haven't really been able to put 60 minutes together. I actually think the Battlehawks will cover this game. I don't know if I would be confident enough to bet it that way, but I think the Battlehawks win this game by double digits. Next up, the Houston Roughnecks against the Dallas Renegades. Now, this, to me, is the matchup of the year so far in this league because, let's face it, haven't been too many big ones. But the Roughnecks are favored by 1, and the 3-0 Roughnecks have been dominant on offense this season. Quarterback P.J. Walker leading the league in passing yards, 748, touchdowns 10. And Walker has even been solid running with 87 yards and a score on the ground. Also, you got Cam Phillips. I think this, if Dallas is to win this game, I think they're going to have to run the ball early on. And when I look at this, I think Cameron Artis-Payne is the difference in this game, whether they win or lose. I'm going to take the Roughnecks, but I think it's going to be a close game. And I think it's going to be rather high scoring. I think like 30-27, Brian.
Yeah, I think it'll be high scoring as well. I'm going to take the Roughnecks in a close one. It will not surprise me if we're wrong on this and the Renegades win, but I think the Roughnecks are offensively are complete. They're going to put up points, and unless Dallas runs the ball early and is consistent offensively from the beginning of the game to the end, which is something they've not done all year, it's going to be hard for them to be able to score enough points. I mean, this is one of those games I think could very easily be a 35-31 kind of a deal, but they've got to be able to keep pace with Houston, and right now I don't know that they can consistently.
All right, next up, the D.C. Defenders are only a 1-point favorite at Tampa Bay. Things really change in a week, just like the NFL. Everything kind of becomes ass backwards sometimes. And like I said, this game would be easy to predict if this was 2 weeks ago. But coming off the Defenders' performance, Brian, it's a little bit tougher to pick it.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm still going to go with DC, But this is a big game for them because they had those first 2 weeks, they played so well, and then really honestly just on not just Cardell Jones, but as a team, they definitely took the plunge off the cliff. So can they get back to what they did the first 2 weeks, or was the first 2 weeks and abnormal, just abnormal, and so now we're going to find out real quick, because if they come out and they play the way they did the first 2 weeks, then I think it's easier to say, okay, hey, the West Coast trip and everything. But if they come out and lay an egg against Tampa Bay, well, maybe DC isn't as good as we thought they were.
So who do you pick?
I'll pick DC.
You pick DC? I think I'm going to take DC too. I'm going to think that it was more of an aberration, if you know what I mean, on what we saw from. I mean, I'm going to believe the first 2 weeks more than I am the third. They don't have to travel as far. I still think the Vipers, they have trouble at quarterback. Taylor Cornelius looked good in some spots, scoring 2 touchdowns, but poor in others. 52% completion percentage, 1 interception. And if Quentin Flowers is not going to be there, they don't have that to fall back on. I think this is the bet of the week. I think you take the defenders, you give the 1 point. So, anything else before we wrap it up, Brian?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing how if the football continues to improve, and also if the attendance continues to go up. Does it level out? Does it drop like a stone? Which I don't think it will. But just kind of seeing where this league is going to shape up as we get into the middle of the season and start working towards the end. All
right, guys. We will be back next week, Wednesday, same time, same bat place, all right?
Yep.
All right, so next Wednesday night at 9 o'clock or 9:05, if I forget that it's Wednesday, we will have XFL Week number 5 show, and we'll recap this week, preview the next. Also, make sure you check out the NFL show on thegruelingtruth.com every day at 1 o'clock. Also, we will have the NFL Legends show coming back next Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, where I will have legendary Kansas City Chiefs kicker Nick Lowry. So make sure you check that out. But you can follow me at Grueling Truth, and you can get all of our podcasts anywhere you can find podcasts, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher. You know the routine. Everywhere you can find it, you'll find us. So for Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.